Hello.
Hello, and yeah, welcome, Rebecca.
Let's try that again. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Escapist Corner.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm very excited for today's topic, and uh, yeah, all the things happening, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just came back from a nice walk and talk with one of our members. So
Mm-hmm.
we took a coffee, went for a walk, and yeah, it's just super nice to meet people and connect with them.
Yep.
And it is interesting because this person's um, you know uh, spouse is had corona, and yeah, this person didn't get corona.
Really?
Yeah,
They were tested negative?
yeah, exactly. And
Interesting.
no antibodies or anything, so it's interesting. And I heard a couple of similar cases, actually. So like two parents with corona, and the kids just didn't get it.
Yeah, I have a friend who also had it, and her husband and son, who's about 12, also tested negative. Um,
Yeah,
she lost her, sense of taste and smell. She's now recovered and completely fine, but all living together under one roof and
yeah.
yeah.
No, and then more some cool things happening. I'm hoping for like a bigger announcement of one thing that is still secret, but something that I know it's not a secret that will happen in March is we're gonna have Nina Teichholt
Mm-hmm.
on the show. So she's a investigative journalist from New York,
Cool.
and she wrote a book called Big Fat Surprise.
Okay.
So she's, if you listen to the last podcast with Joel Kahn, he really hates this woman.
Okay.
And it's really to a really, really, yeah, really bad level.
Okay.
So yeah, I was texting with her, and she was like, yeah, she kind of wrote me why. And yeah, it's not super humble things coming out of that. But yeah, I think it's good for her to be able to kind of share her viewpoint. And I think she's done a lot of had a lot of impact to the nutrition industry
Mm-hmm.
the last years, and our industry, but nutrition debate for sure. And yeah, we're gonna have Navid Reinemann
Mm-hmm.
here also on the show. He is an adaptive athlete from yeah, Germany, and so I think that's going to be a very cool show. And also talking to Jason Ackerman again, and this time it's going to be more in a like a seminar live event on Tuesday next week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just got it confirmed, so it's going to be a live thing for the CrossFit community. So hopefully, a couple hundred people will join that webinar. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Very cool.
Yeah. How about you? How is nutrition going?
Nutrition is going well. I did a in-body scan this morning, and the numbers were a little bit different. The overall weight has gone down a few points. The body fat percentage kind of stayed the same. But now that I'm in such a kind of a swing of things,
Mm-hmm.
and last week we decided to keep the calories the same. We decided this week, I haven't heard back from the coach programming it for me yet, but we're gonna change the numbers slightly on the day that I eat more calories. So we'll bring those that calorie count down a little bit to see, what happens. But overall, it's good. Once I'm finding that now that I'm in such a kind of a routine of it, and I really do kind of plan my day around my meals, it's not so hard.
Mm.
It's not as daunting as maybe it was in the beginning. It
Mm.
was never really daunting for me because I had such a kind of a strong motivation to do it. But yeah, it's kind of enjoyable now to play around with it. So it's kind of like a game for me.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no, I can see that happening. And do you feel like you're enjoying your food and so on?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that I am the only person that would enjoy what I'm eating. My sodium levels are so low because I add salt and I add no salt to anything.
Okay.
So it's pretty bland, but I enjoy it.
Okay.
I enjoy it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
See how that develops and goes on.
Yeah. I do have a birthday coming up, and that day I'm not gonna, I'll be conscious of what I eat, but I'm not going to restrict myself. I told my husband that he better get me some kind of nice treat. So
Carrots.
carrots with some honey on it. Yeah. That'll be my indulgence. But all right, so we have a pretty interesting topic today that was actually recommended or asked to talk about this, and it's we'll kind of jump around a little bit, but the idea is CrossFit for people with unique abilities or disabilities, if you want to call them that, and people that are 50 plus with perhaps joint replacements, hips, knees, and how CrossFit can serve them. We'll also talk a little bit about chronic pain and how CrossFit or physical exercise can mitigate that. So I have a bunch of questions for you to get your wisdom.
Yeah, no, I'll look forward to that.
Yeah. So I guess the first question that I have is how can you adapt workouts for people with little or no mobility in the lower extremities? So let's just kind of jump right in and say somebody in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I think the most helpful thing for these, if you have any restrictions, what we're looking for to start with is what's the point of the movement. So it always comes back to this, and this is also kind of the main difference between CrossFit and maybe Zumba. I don't know, but what is the real task behind this? So if we're looking at a deadlift, for example, the point is to bring something from the ground up. If that's to your hip, to your wheelchair, or to your shoulder, or above your head, that depends. But if we look at if the workout is okay, today we're going to work on our deadlift. Well, for somebody who's super stiff, the technique and everything will look a bit different, but the goal is to safely pull something heavy off the ground to the abilities that person has. And if you're in a wheelchair, that happens a lot. Like you need to pick up stuff from the floor all the time. So you need to, get better at that, stronger at that. And so that's the main task of that movement. Now, if there's any other movement, somebody who has restrictions in their shoulder or one arm might not work. It's the same idea. Like, well, your arm is not going to work when you're picking heavy stuff off the floor outside the gym either. So how can we, I mean, you can always work on it, if it's a rehab thing, you can work on rehab stuff, but the main point for you is being able to pull something heavy off the floor. If it's just with one arm, then but the task is more the important thing. It's a functional task. It's a thing you need in your everyday life. Yeah.
So this is a question for box owners or coaches. A person comes into to a CrossFit box with a big limitation. What are some things that coaches can talk to them about right off the bat? I mean, it's already very courageous for them to come in, perhaps knowing maybe a little bit of what CrossFit looks like from seeing clips from the games and whatnot. But what are some things that coaches can do right off the bat to kind of let the person know that this is a place where they're still welcome, where they can still get a full workout in?
Oh yeah, that's a super good question. So how can you do that? I think like there are probably more ways and multiple ways, but I definitely believe and think it's you want to create a space where you feel welcome, where you feel that you can be you. And I think for most people it is already a big step coming into the gym, and knowing this from, you can even be fit coming into a gym, you're still anxious,
Right.
and this happens in bigger gyms, is that this guy comes in, he can be super fit or unfit, and he knows, like, I'm gonna go out in this space and everyone is watching. Well, nobody's watching, but this is what the person is thinking, like, okay, I go to the treadmills and oh, everyone is watching here. And then that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't come back to the gym, because they just feel that, like, yeah, that feeling of being observed by strangers and being kind of a failure. And again, it can be a fit person who just thinks, like, oh well, I can't do like 200 push-ups like that guy, so yeah, they might look down at me, so yeah, I need to get fit to get to the gym, kind of. So it becomes this place where people are more thinking about how their appearance and show off appearances. And one way to strip that down is to start with basically what we do is start with talking to a person to understand where you're at, and maybe the start is not in the gym, maybe the start is outdoors, but inside the gym, I think the most important thing is to get trust to the coach or coaches that might be working with you, because that makes you more comfortable with the surroundings, with the terrain, with equipment. And it's definitely really a time to get warm into a new routine and everything. And when you do this a couple of times, you start to understand, well, through the relationship with the coaches and so on, you understand that, okay, this is how most people are doing it, and you start to understand, like, okay, I'm actually one of them now. So I think that's I don't know, it's a long answer to that question, but because I don't think it's easy to for somebody who comes straight from the street, being unfit, will probably not, you can put up a picture of that person in the lobby and everything. That person is not going to like that.
Right.
You can give that person a start kit of shorts and everything, but that person will still might appreciate that, but it's not going to be the way you get feeling comfortable and feeling seen.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's it. You need to establish relationship and create trust.
Yeah, and be able to, I guess, transmit confidence to the people, to people in any kind of circumstance, that their goal is achievable, whether it's small goals across, a longer period of time, or some people like to know what the big goal is, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road, and then work to there. But I guess, it is about, as a coach, or the owner of the box, to transmit that confidence in them.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are definitely is different personality types, and whatever gym or box you have, I think you need to distinguish that for yourself. I don't think it's like you know not every member is the same, and you need to know what persons you are best serving, and so on. So
Yeah.
and that's gonna kind of distinguish a bit more how you're gonna help people. So
Yeah. Because we are specifically a CrossFit box, why do you think CrossFit has become, or has kind of, almost, I see it as almost giving the name of being a, an all-inclusive sport, kind of above other sports?
yeah, I think CrossFit has tried to change that over the time, and when it started, it was when it started, it was very similar to what we have here. Small community,
Right.
not thousands of members, 100 to 150 members, but members having fun together, and so on. And then other people just saw how crazy effective the training was, so they wanted to do it. And then you got more of the, let's say, the people that were inspired about, I can really push this, I can really push the fitness, and use this methodology and method in the best way, and to get really extremely fit. Because what CrossFit did was define fitness, and that was not really defined before. So and then you had the CrossFit Games coming like 10 years later, and before that there was no like big media or marketing really happening. It was just a homepage and so on, and you had these early adapters just looking at these crazy workouts and like, okay, I need to do this. And
Right.
when they started, they were seen as crazy people doing these crazy workouts. And if we compare like our members here after training for a while, like our members are almost kicking the ass of the fittest people that back in those times.
Yeah.
So it's developed a lot. And but yeah, so what happens when you have a gym like this? You have 100 to 150 members, and other gyms of course have bigger. Is that this has a positive impact on you, a positive impact on your life. Everyone sees that, like, whoa, what's happened with you? You look great, and you are, so much has changed with you. Like, you have so much energy. What are you doing? And then, well, I'm doing this CrossFit. It's super fun. You should join. And so what happens is, there's this joke, like, what happens, like a CrossFitter, a vegan, and a what is it, like a Scientologist go into a bar.
Okay.
It's like, well, that's all I know, because that was the first thing they said. So it tends to be like people that do CrossFit and started CrossFit, they always talk about CrossFit. And well, that that brings to that people then bring their friends, they bring their families to the box, so it becomes more inclusive, and it becomes more like, hey, man, my kids should do this. And the box, if it's a good box, they should start to think about, how can we adapt things so it's fun for kids too, and serve the community even more. And yeah, so that becomes more inclusive and more inclusive. And then, my granddad, my they also need this. And yeah, then you have more adaptations to that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, definitely also, I mean, we're actually doing this right now. And yeah, today I've talked to 3 people about, kids training, because parents are going crazy at home now with the lockdown. And so what can we, do for the kids that are, at home all the time, and give them, a special thing, because the schools are not offering any,
Right.
regular schedule or time. So I think we can definitely fill a gap there. And again, just serving our community, making it more inclusive in that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get back to talking about a little bit, maybe more specifically, about people with limitations. For example, my mother had a hip replacement last year. And for people that, that are older, not old, older, mature. Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps 50 plus, that would like to start in with a CrossFit box, but have joint replacements, or these kind of limitations that, don't allow them to, at this point, squat or, really have much mobility in their knees. How can they come into a box like ours and start?
So I think they should definitely reach out to the box and say exactly what the issues are, but like basically try to figure out yourself, or maybe the box can help you, but figure out what's limiting me and so on. Write those things down, but also what do you expect to get, what do you expect to have, and where do you expect to go. And hopefully the box can reply back and say, okay, super good, let's have a talk about creating a plan for this. And go into more specifics about if it's a hip replacement. Okay, so let's have a look at these everyday movements that we're doing, because we want to be able to pick stuff off the ground, and carry stuff, put them over the head,
Right.
bend over, go down to the ground, come up from the ground, in the best safest way. And using these movements when it's appropriate, and higher intensity, gradually. Yeah.
I just thought of something. With this, more, mature generation, like the baby boomers. They call them baby boomers in Europe, or is that just like a North American thing?
No, it's a American thing that we can. Yeah, everyone uses.
All right. So the baby boomer generation. Do you see a pattern or trend? Because I hear from my parents all the time about, Joan got a knee replacement last week. Gary got a, shoulder replacement. Do you see any kind of correlation between that generation and all of the replacements that they're getting now?
Yeah, I actually thought about that. Yeah, and yes, I think baby boomers. I think the baby boomers are even better than probably the generation of our parents, because I think they're still stronger, and that they can still manage. They don't have as many hip replacement, but it is the problem is, are these people, I would say, that are born more in the 50s, 60s now, and it's probably going to get worse in the 70s population. And it simply has to do with the type of labor
Right.
that they had. The lifestyle
Yeah.
has changed dramatically. So I think one big difference is, of course, that the people that were born in the 40s, or let's say earlier, the people that were born in the 20s and 30s and before that, they were just simply had more active lives as kids. So they had to run everywhere, they had to walk everywhere, they had to carry stuff. There were no elevators. Life was hard,
Right.
or harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had to use your body much more, and it was not so much of sitting on comfy sofas, and you know how an old sofa is. It's not like comfy. And not really that much of like inactive things happening. And yeah, with the baby boomers, the people born in the 40s, it kind of, with their generation, it started when they were teenagers in the 50s. You had all this comfort
Right.
happening,
Right.
and everything exploded in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when it comes to you can just look at how the cars have developed, and
Right.
the comfort in those. So
Would you say there's something maybe in like the 70s, with as fitness became more popularized, do you think there was something that that became popular that possibly caused harm that they're seeing now in their later life?
I think if it weren't for fitness, we would have had much more
Right.
problems now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But fitness is such a fringe thing, and it has never been really big. Like, it's getting bigger now, but in the 80s it was dancing mostly.
Right. Yeah.
And you have
Jane
these
Fonda.
you have
Yeah.
these like meathead bodybuilding studios. You had
Right.
those, yes. And you always had some people wanting to do like really heavy lifts and stuff like that, competing in that. But there were like so few people really doing that. And since like the everyday movement just kind of started to disappear, because everyone just commutes to another place to sit at.
Right. Yeah.
It just, that's the big problem. And the reason for the knee replacements and broken legs and bad hips and shoulders and elbows has 100% to do with like, most of those things have nothing to do with I climbed a cliff and I fell down.
Right.
But it's like 99% is because, I haven't squatted in 30 years below parallel.
Yeah.
I haven't used my knees, basically.
Right.
Well, same thing with my my back and shoulder. I haven't really used it. So body just breaks down over time.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason why we see knee replacements and all these things just skyrocketing. That's an exaggeration, but it's constantly, one of the most common surgeries we have. And that's just because we don't use it, because the body just yeah, it gets too weak, and then
Right.
it loses ability, and yeah, that's
Um, what about the the person that comes into the box, again, mature, that strongly believes that their body is where it was 25, 30 years ago.
Mhm.
How can they safely and efficiently begin a program? And I guess this is kind of another question about, what can the coach say or encourage without making the person feel like they're just old.
Yeah, so first of all, most people are not like that. They are the opposite. They're like, I can't do anything because I'm so old now.
Yeah.
But I had that not super often, but when we started here, I had this situation with someone who he was not old, not even close to old, but just so unfit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and we figured, well, we are just gonna row like a warm up, and I think we had a 1 hour session, right? And it was a 500-meter row as a warm up, and this guy like, yeah, no worries, and just started row pretty hard. And but from our perspective back then, like, well, it's not super fast or anything, but yeah, apparently for this guy it was, because lights were out after that. I spent 1 hour just laying around,
Okay.
feeling bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those things can happen to people that are or have been, in their fitness somewhere else, and then they haven't used it in a while, and they like the muscle memory is there, but yeah, the body's just not there anymore, and it's this kind of overbelief, I guess, for some, and this mostly happens to men. They have this belief that I can drink and smoke and work 20 hours a day and still be a beast at the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so the- but to start safely, yeah, you need to, like, the coach needs to know where you come from, like you need to know that, okay, you have an athletic background and everything. And the sessions for those people would be having a like a big group session could work if the coach knows all the group members very well.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have one of these new guys sliding in and
Right.
who has no idea. Then the coach could you know make a good workout for everyone, and probably adapt that workout heavily for that person. But it
Mm-hmm.
requires a lot of attention
Yeah.
and a lot of understanding from the other members or athletes as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the ideal situation is, of course, to if it would be a one-on-one session, that would be first sessions would be much more of assessing, uh,
Right.
not doing too much of isometrics, and also not doing any all-out efforts,
Mm-hmm.
but like slowly looking at range of motion, because there's a lot of things like hiding behind the curtain. As soon as you start moving and doing
Mm-hmm.
more motions, you start to see expressions of deficiencies or
Mm-hmm.
disbalances. A very common one is you can see you know how people rest their head when they're lifting stuff. That's always indication that something is not 100% balanced in the body.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so uh, yeah, the coach should be able to have that time to work with it. And also the person who does that should have the patience to do that too.
Yeah.
It can be hard. Like I know that for myself, it can be hard with patience. You want to start now. You want to go hard now, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess also, something that we do, pretty well here is, we have these goal talks with the members, and to talk about specific things that they want, and as a coach, I guess it's very important to have the wherewithal to be able to assess and see if, okay, is this goal realistic for this person, knowing their age, their physical abilities right now, and how we can pace that kind of the acceleration of where they ultimately want to go. Is that correct? So to better understand the client, and through, either PTs or through group classes, but I think it all comes down to, patience from the coach and the member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, and it's a discovery for both.
Yeah. One thing that I wanted to talk about and ask you about is chronic pain. There are, it doesn't matter your age, you can have chronic pain and issues. So what is chronic pain?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't researched that too much. I just know from basic know-how is that I mean, there are different chronic pains, and some pains can be caused by autoimmunity. Some pains can be caused about from yeah, like genetics, psychologic, and some can be because of wear and tear. And what we usually see as when it comes to chronic pain, I would say there are two things that are it's the lifestyle habits of movement and nutrition that usually are very tight linked with this, and they also affect the genetics. They affect your the psychology too. So but yeah, I mean, you can get to a state where you are in chronic pain and it will always be there.
Right.
And it's a super hard place to be at, but I don't know how those people manage it. But I guess you can train that too, like psychologically and everything. But I know a couple of people that had that, but usually this also comes down to psychology. We as human beings, we tend to, or many tend to, we try to tell ourselves that something is wrong with me. Something has to be strange with me because I have this. And it's an observation I've made from many, and I think I've heard my voice also, like in my head sometimes, like, why am I like this? Why am I doing like this? And so for some people, it might just end up in this pain area too, where you're just saying that, this is a part of my personality. This is just who I am.
Right.
And it feels good to have this kind of, I don't know, safe zone where I'm limited, and because I'm born with this. And
Yeah, it's like you build a relationship with your pain.
yeah, and
Yep.
it becomes like an comfortable excuse also to mitigate everything, and mitigate if it's like social connection, or mitigate responsibility. Very common. Like people trying to get, they dig so deep into their back pain or whatever it is. So yeah, I can't work.
Yeah.
I can't. So all these things that make your life worth living, you're basically shutting down, because probably too scared. Like there's too much responsibility, and I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed by that. So
Yeah.
those people needed probably psychotherapy or help with that. But from the guys who have chronic pain and have this, like I talked to, when I was on a walk now, but about chronic pain and running.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common though. So you have a lot of runners that run for 10 years. Like, I have this bad knee and it always hurts, but I'm always running, and I just tape it. I do this, and it works. And they do this for 10 years or 15 years. And like, yeah, well, I have a bad knee.
Right.
That's the thing. And what surprises me is that we don't ask ourselves, but why do I have a bad knee? Where does
Yeah.
it come from?
Yeah.
It's not like very few people are born with a bad knee. It definitely are people, but there are ways like to work around these. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you shouldn't be doing stuff that cause pain in that sense. For if we look at joints and stuff like that, they, of course there are some good pains too, but it can cause this chronic pain, and then you're just going to get to a point where you can't do anything at all,
Yeah.
or you need to do a knee replacement,
Right.
which is just like such a waste of time and resources and money. And you might never be able to run again.
Mm-hmm.
So
CrossFit has really kind of taken a stand on mitigating chronic pain. And I'm just wondering if you can just walk us through a few things that, that does, decrease pain in somebody's body with physical fitness.
Yeah. So first, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it is just dialing in the nutrition will eradicate some. There are people that I can take my father as an example. He had chronic pain in his shoulders, so it got worse and worse and worse, and he couldn't lift his arm over his head, even both arms. And the doctors were like, "We're gonna take some cortisone," and everything got a bit better, but then it got worse, and they're like, "Sorry, your shoulders are just bad, and seems like they're worn out, and there's nothing to do." And then by coincidence, my dad got talked to a guy who is a bodybuilder actually, and he just said, "Well, you should try magnesium," and
Okay.
and he started to supplement some magnesium. Like my dad has a very poor diet, but yeah, for just within a couple of weeks, suddenly he could lift his arms, and
Wow.
he had no problems anymore. So yeah, diet just changed that.
Interesting.
And yeah, it doesn't have to supplement magnesium every day now anymore, but yeah, those things, small things can help. Physical fitness, it is, I mean, dependently, but we say the most common one is back pain and chronic back pain. The most effective thing for that is to get a stronger back.
Yeah.
And how do you get a stronger back? Well, it is by carrying stuff, squatting, front squatting, and doing all these like stabilization movements that are functional. I'm not saying you should do sit-ups and so on necessarily, because I think sit-ups can be bad for you if you're having a back pain, and you probably shouldn't do a lot of burpees and stuff like that are exposing the back a lot, but rather you should do a lot of controlled lifts and movements, and I know a lot of people tend to start with going into more yoga, and they want to stretch more, and that can be actually counterproductive. So
Okay.
you want to be, you don't want to, like, if you want to mobilize, that's good usually, but you don't want to over mobilize stuff that is already just too loose, right?
Right.
And sometimes you definitely don't want to stretch stuff that is just irritating the spot even more, or if it's an inflammation or so, you don't want to cause even more strain on that area, but you want to strengthen the areas around, and you want to loosen up the areas around. So you need to have a plan for that,
Right.
and understand your physiology a bit. And
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of videos about that, but maybe something that we can also do a bit more videos about. But it's like just understanding physiology of, when you have chronic back pain, for example, that you shouldn't be stretching your lower back, and you should maybe be doing a lot of like smashing of the lower back and so on. But yeah, these are like the better strategies. You should do a lot of like shoulder mobilization, maybe do lower extremity mobilization, like your calves and your feet and stuff like that. But don't go into the glutes too hard, maybe, because the glutes might just even create even more tension. um yeah, you can, I think, like the functional movements are really really good for, you need to strengthen that. And like one meme, an idea that I really liked, is that there are no bad backs, there are just weak backs. So yeah.
So it's all about making yourself stronger.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
if you have, yeah, there are always special occasions, but but it usually has to do with just poor strength and poor mobility. That's one of the key reasons for people's pain.
And then once you start to strengthen, your muscles, is it kind of like a domino effect? Like, there'll be more blood flow, and your endorphins will kick in, and that's a natural painkiller. So you won't have to take, ibuprofen or whatever, paracetamol. So would you say that, functional movements, are kind of the touchstone of where you should, of where somebody, could begin?
Yeah, I mean, because you need them in life.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense to be better at those, so you have more options. And again, like the nutrition is a big part, because having a diet that is not causing tons of inflammation in your body is just gonna make your body to heal faster, and heal faster from exercise, meaning from that stress, but also if you have inflammation, your inflammation will go way faster. I think we have we have one client that has been having, like, really chronic pain last months and so on, and it's been horrible to see her in this state. But she's been working with her diet and so on, and everything is, she can lift stuff again. She couldn't do that for
Wow.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
So now she's slowly getting back, and that's wonderful to see. I can't say that it's 100% with the nutrition, but she definitely wanted to work on the nutrition, and keep on moving, strengthening other parts. And there are still some squeaky wheels there, but yeah, I think it will get back.
All right.
Mm.
Well, that was a very informative session.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too. And yeah, I think we have more interesting topics coming up, but of course, like, it's always nice to have topics that we know people have told us about, and and yeah, so we can deep dive on those.
Yeah.
And yeah, plenty of topics coming up again. I'm looking forward to those. And yeah, just we just got the new. Yesterday they announced that we have the continued lockdown. Right?
Yep. Until the 15th of February, I think. Right.
Yeah,
The 15th. Yeah.
14th, 15th.
14th. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about that too. And uh, right now I'm on walk, and it was so expected. And I just see people flipping out. And did we talk about that last podcast with this? That this strategy of like just half-assing everything, and not giving, just saying like we're gonna lock down until May.
Yeah.
Like that would be so much more plannable for people.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
now always like giving these short goals.
Yeah.
People kind of well, this is what I think. People build up this hope that it will actually get back maybe to some normality, and I can open up my business, or I might be able to pay my rent, and so they count on that. And then they get this kind of thing, and they get a broken heart. And the thing of, yeah, people don't die because of lack of resources, they die because of a broken heart. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah. And I mean, right now, okay, we just, got, new information yesterday from the Senate, but
yeah,
I think right now it is so important to kind of, maybe, yesterday was a good time to kind of clue into what you're just saying. Okay, well, maybe, they're just giving us kind of these kind of like 4 to 5 weeks, little clues, I don't know, and kind of play with that, and know that the 14th or 15th is not going to be the end of the lockdown, but know that you have a few more weeks with your kids at home for sure, 100%. I don't know, maybe that's just a mind game that I'm playing with myself, but patience, man.
yeah. No, see how we do the best out of the situation. Simply.
Yeah.
Okay, then until next time, I guess.
Until next time. Thank you.
Thank you.